Hoban is a worthless clown who serves as his school's decorated punching bag. I honestly can't blame his classmates. If I saw an alternate dimension Pennywise whose main diet consisted of humiliation rituals and jaw-shifting uppercuts, I'd have a go at him as well. Let's not forget Paco, the clearly overaged classmate who decided to keep flunking high school after binge-watching Prison Break on repeat and becoming a dollar store Michael Schofield, fed up with being the punching bag that Creed used to train for his fight against Damien. Hoban-san decided to unlock a secret technique to never feel pain and destroy his bullies on camera. Pago, the backwater Michael Schofield, was a YouTube streamer who had just hit 700,000 subscribers and was making a celebratory stream in his classroom, acting as if he was pulling views like a typical iShow speed stream. He was joined by Rumi, a 5-star beauty with melons clearly too heavy for her uniform and a brain too light for her head. She was making her debut as a beauty and makeup tips YouTuber. I'm honestly surprised she wasn't posting try-on haul videos instead. After greeting the fans and getting them warmed up with a little melon jiggle, it was time to show off her expertise. She already had a student prepared to display her skills. Before we continue the recap, I just want to say to the viewer, take your hands off your weapon, you sicko, I know what you are doing. Continuing on, it was none other than the great Hoban. She had used her best makeup and top-level skills to pimp him up nicely with his signature look, the Hoban-wise special. He sat there being the star of the show and taking in his daily dose of humiliation as Pago's 700,000 subscribers and the rest of the school watched his pathetic existence live on YouTube. You'd think he got something out of being put on display, but being the disappointment and waste of potential that he was, he received 0 yen and was a chronically poor loser, which basically summed up his resume as president of the Worthless Weeb Association, and that's supposed to be my title. Pago made the clown greet the fans with his pearly yellows and finished off with the classic PC giveaway scam, which no one in the history of the internet ever actually wins. After the live show, Hoban went to wash off the makeup and gave himself the usual self-talk that included a couple of minutes of trauma-inducing clown pose practices and very vivid affirmations of his depressing life situation, reminding himself of the fact that he became the school clown because that was the only thing a worthless sack of bones like him could achieve, compared to the rich and brainless Paco, the gorgeous Rumi, and his other classmates who were either rich or smart. After his session, he went back to class with the weight of his unaccomplished dreams giving him a neckache. He immediately started his shift as the punching bag as he received a ninja-type dropkick from Snapper, a goon who worked as the cameraman of Paco's channel. I know cameraman doesn't die, but I never knew he had hands as well. He was giving Hoban the daily workout as his smile during the stream had caused viewers mental distress and affected their earnings for the day. Snapper was the typical glizzy rider who followed Paco around to gain some level of respect in school. As he kept pounding Hoban, Rumi revealed that she had already made 30,000 yen with their mini-stream. Hearing this made the physical pain he was in seem meaningless. She thanked Paco and promised him a special session later, something my assistant has been lacking on lately if I do say so myself. Snapper had stopped his pounding and decided he wanted to also become a YouTuber. He asked Paco for the necessary tools he needed. Paco claimed he needed an adult's bank details as he was still a minor. He couldn't use his parents' details as he was also a goon at home and had stolen from his parents. Remembering this clown sandbag was also someone's child, he turned his attention back on Hoban and asked if his sick mother was still alive. This question struck a nerve, but seeing as he was used to being a disappointment, Hoban merely swallowed the shame. Now at least we know that Hoban isn't a spitter. Paco decided to lecture his goon on proper etiquette and rephrased the question by asking Hoban if his mother has passed away yet. Hoban barely flinched this time as insults from Paco were basically what he ate for lunch. After school, he went to see his mum in the hospital as she was too sick to stay at home with him. His pathetic nature was likely contagious. She asked him about his dirt and bruise-filled face, and he laughed it off. His mum clearly didn't know her son enough. He wasn't the type to get into fights. He was merely a bag that fighters used to warm up their fists for actual combat. After seeing her, he went to pay the weekly medical bill, which was the same 30,000 yen that Rumi had made in 30 minutes, almost as much as the girls in Miami make on a certain other website, if you know what I mean. He made that much money by working as a burger flipper for a whole week and surviving off customer leftovers. His only consolation was the fact that a goddess-level beauty named Bomi Choi, who was the restaurant's idol, was kind enough to speak to him. This was the only thing that kept him from joining Pennywise in clown hell. Just as he thought he was finally having some luck, his dreaded arch-nemesis Paco walked in. He had come to introduce his streamers to the Wackdonald idol, who had become a local celebrity. Seeing as his 700,000 subscribers made him untouchable, he gave her a challenge to make him a 10-ingredient burger in 30 seconds. If she failed, she had to give him her number. Hoban, who was hiding from Paco and his camera crew, risked it all and made the burger in a bid to save his idol from the demon's claws. By doing this, he knew he had signed his death certificate and merely accepted his fate. Bomi the idol seemed intrigued by the clown's actions. Later that night, in his 10-feet-wide apartment, Snapper had started a gamer streaming channel in Hoban's house and was already raking in the bread as 30 kills already brought him 30,000 yen. Meanwhile, his broke servant Hoban was whipping up his dinner, pissed off by the fact that his classmate who pounded him daily all backshots was now making his weekly wages in minutes. Streaming from his house, using his mother's details, he did the worst he could do and added a side of clown spit and mucus to Snapper's food, or what I like to call the secret Krabby Patty formula. As he brought the dinner to serve his master, he tripped over the power cord and disconnected him midstream. What followed was an immediate pounding session, nothing he wasn't used to. As Snapper pounded, he reminded Hoban that he was the reason his mother was dying of cancer. This was the last straw. Hoban somehow found a sense of dignity and launched his fist into Snapper's face and followed it with a ramen slap. You can tell this wasn't the first time he slapped long wiggly things at people's faces. The two spent the rest of the night having a fist and food fight. After the brawl, Hoban realized that fighting was not as bad as he thought. He spent the rest of the night brooding in depression, and later he went to sleep. The next day, he woke up to Snapper calling him. Snapper was looking for his house while bawling his eyes out. Apparently the only thing that went off the previous night was the monitor. The camera was still on and captured the whole fight, and it was automatically uploaded afterwards. Hoban checked his phone and saw that millions of people across the globe had seen them and became even more resentful of his life. As if being a local disgrace wasn't enough, he was now an international one. As he read through the comments, he came across some that revealed that he could make money from the views the video got. He calculated the potential earning and almost blew a fuse when he found out that he was potentially looking at 1,000,000 yen. Meanwhile, Snapper had gotten to school and had already become a local meme. Looking to re-establish his place on the food chain, he went to attack a fat nerd who was playing with his phone. He was immediately attacked by the angry blob built like an angry bird who destroyed him with a barrage of punches. His swift fall from grace became clear when he saw the look on Paco's face. Hoban, who had just left the hospital after happily paying a 120,000 yen bill for his mum, was still in disbelief about his new star status when he got soccer punched by Snapper, who was leaking body fluids from his face holes. He asked for half of the money while they exchanged blows. Hoban, who was now an experienced boxer and almost as good as Jake Paul, refused to give him any money and cracked Snapper's fragile peanuts. After a long sparring session, they sat at a bench where he consoled the sulking Snapper, but reminded him of his decision to give him nothing. Snapper revealed that he filmed their hospital fight, and in a bizarre plot twist offered Hoban a partnership. He wanted to do the new tube streaming together. After initially declining, Snapper revealed all the intricacies of running a channel, things that he did for Pago. Hoban, who had no experience running a channel, acknowledged this and decided to hear his proposal. Snapper offered a 90-10 earnings split contract in his favor, thinking he had swindled the dumb clown. Hoban, who was too broke to not know how money worked, flipped him off and rejected the offer. As he left, Snapper finally accepted his situation, and in a desperate attempt to salvage something, he offered to have the 90-10 contract in Hoban's favor. Hoban accepted, and Snapper revealed that they were going to create content around exposing bullies. The next day at school, Paco, whose face wrinkles were becoming a scary sight to behold, had started his stream by bringing on Snapper and Hoban, who called themselves the Bullied Boys. Pretending that he had no idea the famous fighters were in his class, he planned to use them for clickbait. Snapper kept nagging Hoban to initiate a plan they seemed to have come up with for Paco. As he hit his viewers with the usual PC giveaway scam, Hoban put the streamer on blast by exposing him to his viewers as a lying fraud. He claimed that the giveaway was a setup to lure views. Hoban then took off his shirt, revealing a heavily bruised stickman build that made him look like a final stage AIDS patient. He claimed that Paco was a punk who liked to bully and beat him up every day. Seeing this, the rest of the school had gathered, and Snapper was happy to see his plan in action. They wanted to make Paco lose viewers while gaining some for their new channel. The unfolding drama spiked everyone's interest as Paco was clearly infuriated, but to Hoban and Snapper's shock, Paco revealed that his stream had ended as his phone had died from a low battery. His rant was a waste as no one had seen it. Realizing his compromised situation, the seemingly brave Hoban reverted to his shivering and terrified personality, and Paco began multiplying his bruises with heavy slaps. Snapper, on the other hand, had Paco right where he wanted him. The plan was never to out Paco on his stream. He was secretly streaming from Hoban's account, and thousands of people were now seeing Paco for who he actually was. Hoban, who had seen Snapper streaming, was starting to accept how diabolical the internet was. They enjoyed watching his scrawny ass get manhandled. Remembering his desire to get the bag for his sick mum, he decided to put on his big boy pants and face his demon. He clenched his fist, ready to fight back. Seeing this, Paco took a step back and pulled off his shirt, revealing the full 24-pixel Michael Scofield look. Snapper, who knew what was coming, expressed fear for his stupid partner, who could have merely taken the slaps and survived, but decided to jump headfirst into the frying pan. As Hoban secretly wished for a savior to stop his impending doom after seeing the true nature of his oppressor, Paco reminded him once more of how his mother's cancer was his fault. Remembering all the times Paco had made that statement, he decided he was ready to face his doom. He demanded that Paco stop with the disrespect and charged at him, looking to throw him down with a Hollywood star-style body spear. He remembered he was a twig when he finally came in contact with Paco and realized he had charged a brick wall. Paco lifted him up like a fun-sized Twix and slammed him into the ground. He mistook the body slam as the finishing move, but was immediately reminded of the reality of his situation when Paco stood over him ready to pounce. Just as he was about to turn his face to mashed potatoes, a student who was sleeping at the back of the class asked Paco to be quiet. There was an instant silence in the room as everyone wanted to know who he was. When Paco turned to know who dared speak to him, the student sat up. It was the MMA prodigy Munsong Kim, who coincidentally was in the same class. Paco immediately switched personalities and became humble. He immediately left after Munsong went back to sleep, warning him not to wake him again. Later that day, after charging his phone, Paco logged into his channel and finally discovered the damage the boys had done to him. He made a fake apology video, but stupidly forgot he was live and roasted his viewers for being brain-dead zombies. His fall was swift as viewers started discovering his scams from previous videos, and his downfall became a rather soothing trend that left Paco the Great walking around with a selfie stick like a disowned orphan. The next day, after talking about how Hoban had to find a way to last longer than 5 seconds in a fight, he went to do some research when he stumbled upon a chicken-masked fight instructor who had hundreds of videos with no subscribers. After watching the video, Hoban decided that the teachings were simply too good to be true and went to sleep. The next day, he went to his job to formally resign. He wanted to focus on his streaming and make more money. While his boss taunted the wannabe YouTuber, the girls at the back spoke about him, and Bomi, who was there, came out to see him. She defended him in front of his boss and asked for his number. Back at school, the boxing clown who had never spoken to the female species before was now texting an idol and replied to every text within a millisecond like a simp. Snapper had come to see his fighting progress, and as they spoke, Rumi, the makeup YouTuber, came along asking the now famous clown to stream with her as her viewers were asking for it. While she twisted his brain and senses by playing with his ear, the exiled Paco came in ready to destroy the boys for ruining his career. After seeing an eerie similarity between Paco's moves and his Chicken Master's predictions, Hoban tried to practice his fighting lesson with Paco, but was saved by Snapper's camera. Paco left, swearing vengeance. Later on, while waiting for Snapper for a content planning meetup, he had just received the scariest request known to virgin nerds, a phone call request from Bomi, who was tired of texting. Just then, a suspicious-looking couple approached Hoban. He thought they were fans but was snapped back to reality when they took him to an alley to mug him. Snapper came along and got knocked down by an upheld fist. The couple then took his phone to stop him from calling the cops. He was more concerned with losing Bomi's details and begged them. But Snapper, the clever cameraman, was filming the whole thing again and revealed that this was their next content as the couple that mugged them were popular around that area. After following his latest bully to a karaoke bar, Hoban asked for his phone back while Snapper filmed them. The bully decided to put the famous clown in his place with his fists. Remembering Chicken Master's teachings, Hoban leaned into the punches with his head. This quickly turned into a very boring match for his viewers. As Snapper was about to sign out to save their dwindling viewer numbers, the viewer who recognized Munsong Kim claimed that Hoban was the winner. He was using skilled MMA techniques to make his bully's fists swell by headbutting his punches. After his adrenaline wore off, The drag queen wannabe bully dropped to the ground, squirming in pain. The guys left after delivering another successful hit video. Hoban, who had balloon-sized bruises, was happy to finally get a chance to chat with Bomi, who was watching him simp live. The viral hit stream was now 4 videos and 25 million views strong, and they had finally received their first payout, which was worth 2 million yen, an unbelievable amount to the previously poor loner clown. Snapper explained how ad revenue worked and revealed that they were lucky their posts were not demonetized for being too violent. Just then, Rumi, who was stalking them while using thirst traps to hook her now 70,000 subscribers, spotted her cash cows. Snapper grabbed Hoban and narrowly escaped the fame-hungry vixen. They ended up at a high-end boutique where Hoban saw a Gucci tracksuit he wanted, but decided to keep window shopping when he saw that it was worth 140,000 yen, the equivalent of Snapper's earnings for the month. Snapper, on the other hand, who was used to those amounts, immediately got the tracksuit, reminding the formerly poor clown that a little money didn't change how extreme poverty had altered his mindset. Hoban received a text that seemed to jolt his nervous system. He went to a couples park after buying the Gucci tracksuit. He started streaming after passers-by who saw him claimed he was too poor to afford the original tracksuit and was wearing a fake. His viewers consoled him. After hearing someone ask for a selfie, he thought he was loved again, but was disappointed when the fan ran towards Ji-woon, a K-drama star-level streamer who stood beside the human ogre, highlighting his ugliness. Ji-woon spotted a beauty and tried asking her out. She turned him down, claiming she was there for someone else. She was Bomi Choi, and she had come to hang out with the famous ogre, and coincidentally, she was also in a Gucci jacket. He reminisced on his hatred for the pecking order of society, which made him the bottom of the food chain, and even affected Paco. The only exception to his hatred was the MMA prodigy Moonsong Kim. All of that didn't matter anymore, as seeing her made his pain go away. As they walked, she touched him, and he immediately went into a dream state, fantasizing about a family with the precious Bomi. She woke him up at a cafe where she ordered a parfait and tried talking to the nervous bum who couldn't look her in the face after other passers-by roasted him for being a short ogre who was embarrassing Bomi. She got up to leave as she was tired of him. He then confessed how pathetic he was in the presence of her beauty, even sacrificing himself by sitting under the sun to protect her precious skin. She was moved by his simping and stayed. As they went back, she got a call from a friend who was coming to meet up with her. She claimed he was a childhood friend who went to Hoban's school. Hearing it was Moonsong Kim, his family dream with Bomi was ruined. To save his dignity, he lied about being friends with the boxing prodigy and immediately regretted it when he turned up and she asked him about it. Hoban's head suddenly weighed a ton. He couldn't get it up as the weight of his mistake was too much for him. Loners like him never dared mention the name of respected peers, but here he was about to get his bowl cut ripped off his scalp for lying with Moonsong's name. Luckily for him, Moonsong was far above the politics of high school. He acknowledged the puny clown as a classmate and by default a friend, saving him from irreparable emotional damage. He also seemed to know that he was a new tuber. As the trio strolled along the park, Hoban realized his position amongst the three of them. Clearly, Bomi had brought him along as her butler while she hung out with Moonsong, her rightful partner. He hit them with the classic ingrown toenail excuse and dipped, leaving Bomi, who looked disappointed. He was immediately attacked by Snapper, who was filming his spectacular fumble from a hidden alley. He gave Hoban the greatest pep talk known to man, even referencing the coach that trained LeBron James. He gave him the drive he needed to fight for his love and sent him off to his slaughter. As he went, filled with delusion, to claim his love, Snapper filmed on, proud of himself for staging the greatest fail video to ever be filmed. As Hoban got to Moonsong and Bomi, who were seated in the park, he claimed his ingrown toenail like his senses had vanished. Moonsong, once again shocking the viewers, stood up and left as he had to train for a fight. Later on, while seated on a bench burning his thighs with nervousness, Hoban mustered up courage to ask Bomi for her type. Before he could tell her that she was everything he ever wanted, he noticed Snapper behind the bushes, pulling up the cameraman. He discovered that Snapper had contracted a nasty case of bleeding bruises. Paco was back for his revenge on the famous clown as well as Bomi, who rejected his proposal. Hogan instigated the low-budget Michael Schofield as usual. He was ready for the punch and prepared his forehead for a second round, but immediately remembered his weakness when Paco, who already saw his previous video, knocked him into flight mode with an uppercut. While asleep in flight, He realized how getting some money and attention from Bomi made him think that one YouTube video was enough to make him a mini Mike Tyson. His doubts were cleared when he came back to his senses, drenched in his own mucus, tears, and blood. Paco made Snapper film as he ordered the worthless clown to strip down in front of his girl. Hoban became more depressed when Bomi slapped Paco, something he couldn't even conceive. To save her from his clutches, he took off his clothes and stood there in the rain disgraced, accepting his failure. He went one step further and decided to blind everyone by taking off his underwear armor and displaying his baby carrot. Luckily, he was saved by Munsong, who saw the stream and came to save Bomi. He effortlessly knocked Paco and his crew out and took Bomi away, leaving Hoban to cry away his pain in the rain. A stalker who was also a student that had been following him around rooting for him left, also crying with pity. After that incident, Snapper became Paco's new clown as the thug had made a comeback to streaming and was unapologetically ruthless. Bomi was trying unsuccessfully to reach Hoban, who sealed himself off in his storage locker home and spammed the Chicken Master's videos while entering a training arc. He was tired of being the kid who was picked on and beaten for no reason, besides the fact that he was a pathetic weakling. He remembered how he gradually went from being a regular brokey kid to a spineless sandbag and decided to finally do something about it. Back at school, Snapper was live on YouTube telling Hoban to remain hidden as their school was now an area that spelled doom. Paco had finished his daily boxing practice with his new sandbag Snapper and was asking Hoban to come save his friend. Hoban, who seemed to be watching the stream from home, was actually in school. He had returned after his mini-montage and was ready to put the prison break addict in his place. A month after Hoban's vanishing act, Snapper had to find a way to survive the hellhole that was their high school. So he did what he did best. He looked for strong people to leech on. Rumi's stream now had 100,000 subscribers. Snapper approached her, claiming to be disgusted by Hoban and offered his services as a producer to her. Paco came along and he did the same thing, hoping to score 2 potential clients at once. He was gravely mistaken. Paco shifted his internal organs with a brutal body shot and used a few more punches to change his facial structure. He explained how Snapper's ability to betray anyone that was weak and leech onto the strong ones made him even more pathetic and disgusting than Hoban. Paco went back to being a YouTube favorite. His channel got to over 900,000 subscribers. While figuring out how to get to 1 million and reach his 50,000 yen goal, he decided to give Snapper a chance at redemption. He was to bring Hoban back for a beatdown stream that would help him get to his 50,000 yen goal. Snapper accepted and went to get Hoban's address from his mum, but returned to school unsuccessful, claiming that Hoban didn't answer his calls. Disappointed, Snapper decided to take out his frustrations on him, and his fans were all for it. Snapper had actually changed his mind after Hoban's mum revealed that he considered Snapper to be a friend. Paco asked him to send Hoban a message via stream to get him to school. Snapper then told Hoban to stay home and protect himself, as Paco was about to finish him off. The great clown, whose following was down to 90,000, returned. He gave Snapper his phone to record him as he was ready to take on his arch-nemesis. His cute stalker had also come to watch his comeback. He used his first move to take Paco's first hit, but Paco, who already knew it wasn't going to fall for it, prepared his uppercut. Hoban remembered what he spent the month doing, after crying about his weakness and realizing that he wasn't like Sung Jinwoo from Solo Leveling, who could get a life-changing upgrade in a single day. He watched Chicken Master's second training, in which he was told to bulk up, swim with his wrists folded, and practice a kick 10,000 times. He ate all the cheap protein he had at home, as he was too poor to afford a protein shake. He swam in the public bath as he was too scared to go to a pool, and he practiced his kicks with his comically large trash bags. With all of that training and mastering a secret technique that an albino Mike Tyson revealed as the ultimate weapon, he was ready for the hit and successfully weaved Paco's uppercut. Using the kick he mastered, he hit Paco with a low calf kick. His viewers and Paco mocked him for not doing the common high thigh kick, but the viewer, who was a boxing pro as well as Munsong, who watched the fight, knew that he had delivered the correct deadly kick that affected even pro fighters. As that kick seemed to be all he learned, he kept kicking Paco and running around, avoiding a punch that could break his face. As the people were becoming bored of their Tom and Jerry roleplay, he took a stance looking like he had something in store but kept hitting Paco with the painful calf kick. Paco was expecting it this time as he knew that the calf kick was all the pathetic clown had mastered. As he blocked the kicks, everyone else, including Munsong, watched in pity as it seemed the comeback was no longer to defeat his enemy, but rather to offer himself back up as a decorated sandbag. But as it turned out, The chicken master had taught him something else. The folded wrist swimming had a purpose after all. As Paco was distracted blocking the calf kicks, Hoban got into position and delivered the most epic overhand hook. The punch broke Paco's face and put him to sleep on the ground. Hoban had done the impossible and defeated his arch nemesis. He crouched over as Snapper stood up against Paco's goons who wanted to attack Hoban. The goons appeared scared, and Snapper thought he was now a menace, but in reality, Moonsong was standing over them. He patted Hoban on his back and told him that he was awesome. He asked the new tuber to stop crying as he was leaking heavy body fluids from his face holes. Hoban yelled in a mix of sadness and relief for his viewers to subscribe and turn on their notifications. As the days went on, Paco avoided school, and Hoban was devilishly happy that the evil, washed-up prison break addict finally got what he deserved. His NewTube subscribers went up again, while Paco's channel got ruined. He received the NewTube silver play button for crossing 100,000 subscribers and thanked his followers with a level 1 handstand. He bought his mom an expensive new jacket but hid the 180,000 yen price tag, as she wouldn't like him spending so much money. She told him about a friend that came over, and he guessed it was Moonsong. Snapper, who was about to come in with a gift basket, heard him and was waiting outside to terminate him for not acknowledging him as a friend, despite the fact that he likely lost a liver from Pago's beatings that he took to protect him. Hoban, on the other hand, was happy to see him and take his punch as he now considered Snapper to be his friend. Viral Hit was now a certified hitmaker. They were raking in views and subscribers. Snapper decided that they needed an editor as he alone could no longer handle the complex editing their content needed to give it an extra edge. Using the best tool in their arsenal, the channel, they made a stream asking for an editor. They quickly realized that their viewers were not exactly the ideal members of society. After subtly roasting their viewers and almost giving up on the idea, the old man who was their fight specialist and commentator pitched himself as an editor to the guys. Although skeptical, they decided to give him a shot. The next day, while they were waiting for him to come to them as Hoban was too incompetent to arrange a meet, the cute stalker who went to the same school turned up. She was the old man commentator. The other students claimed she had moved back after staying abroad, which explained her unusual accent as well as her silky smooth skin that fried Snapper's incomplete brain. He was still in disbelief when she held his finger, sending him in a daydream that was abnormally the same as Hoban's dream with Bomi. After Hoban snuck into his dream as a midget puppy, he woke him up to complete their assessment of their potential editor. After discussing some details with her and still being unsure of her potential, she convinced Hoban by showing him how much work she had to put in to cover up his Amazon forest that was revealed in the episode when Moonsong lifted him up from traumatizing the internet with his premature carrot. He hired her on the spot, and she became their latest team addition. Meanwhile, Bomi, who was watching his channel's growth, was jealous that Hoban had time to work on his channel, but had forgotten about her. As she walked home, she came across a crowd gathered outside the arcade watching a high schooler play a game after brutalizing the kids that were playing earlier. Later on, Snapper revealed to Hoban that the kid's name was Taehoon Seong, who attended Gangbuk High. Unlike other kids his age, he was a taekwondo fighter who was in the new MMA Max League. Snapper revealed that the taekwondo he practiced was a useless combat sport that made him an easy prey. He claimed that the fact that Taehoon was feared in his high school despite being a weakling meant that he could easily dominate Gangbuk. Their editor Gayul came in and explained to the dimwits that hired her that Taehoon practiced a style of taekwondo, known as combat taekwondo, that was incredibly dangerous. He had mastered the sport's ultimate technique, a back kick that couldn't be countered or defended, one that sent his opponents to an early grave. Taehoon displayed the power of the kick on the older civilian who came to punish him for beating up the arcade customers. Hoban, who was still confused on why they were looking into Taehoon in the first place, went nuts when Snapper revealed that he was their next target for Hoban's bully takedown series. He wanted no smoke with the MMA fighter, neglecting that he had a chicken master who definitely had something cooked. The next day outside the school building, they were looking into Taehoon more deeply after asking their subscribers for more information. They discovered that the monster was a sadist who took whatever he wanted from weaklings at his school and enjoyed making people shit their pants in fear as he brutalized their friends and left them powerless to his mighty kicks. Hoban was even more terrified than earlier and wanted nothing to do with the maniac fighter who left Taekwondo after dominating the sport to break people's ribs out of boredom. Later in the evening, Taehoon was headed to his demon lair somewhere in hell, when he was stopped by a very tall, tire-bellied man named Takao, who had come to get revenge on the high schooler for beating up his friends. After trashing his taekwondo, he went in to grab Tae-hun looking to give him some disciplinary lessons, but was kicked down to size until his face became farther than his belly. His friend begged for his life, and after asking them for 1,000,000 yen, which the broke weak peasants didn't have, he took his time stomping the likely isekai'd Goliath wannabe. Snapper, the view-hungry cameraman, was hiding in a corner recording the beatdown when Tae-hun saw him. Afterward, he was seen discussing his ordeal with Hoban, and as it turned out, Tae-hun had actually caught him, and he brought Hoban, likely looking to share the pending beatdown. Snapper claimed that he was merely recording his amazing skills when Gayul, the editor, came screaming at Tae-hun. Once she got closer, she seemed to have remembered that she didn't have balls, and calmly mentioned having a father to escape being treated like the man she was pretending to be. After thinking they had fooled the sadist, he revealed that he knew who they were, and had heard of their plans to teach him a lesson. Seeing as he was already looking for a way to get rich, he decided that he wanted Hoban's YouTube channel, and as is his modus operandi, he rearranged Snapper's guts while demanding the channel from the pee-drenched ex-clown who appeared to be ready to make a comeback as the president of Loserville. After terminating Snapper's nervous system's connection to his legs, he demanded their YouTube channel. Snapper refused to hand it over as they had worked hard for it. Hoban tried to mediate the beef, but instead got the sadist's attention focused on him. Tae-hun's legs were abnormally long and made reaching him impossible. Hoban tried to hit him with the calf kick and overhand hook, but was force-fed feet each time. He gladly accepted his defeat and surrendered the channel, saving himself from certain death. They took Snapper to the hospital afterwards, and Snapper expressed disappointment in Hoban. He was inspired to stand up for himself after what happened with Paco, and was wondering where Hoban's pride had gone. Hoban revealed that he never had any pride to begin with. Accepting defeat and humiliation was nothing to a shameless waste of existence who was accustomed to getting his dignity cooked and served hot with a side of unbearable pain. He knew he was no match for the pro-level psycho, and had no shame in accepting the facts. He left Snapper with Gayul, who had come to see him. Before she could sit with him, he sent her away, asking for some alone time so he could flood the hospital room with his tears and snot. Hoban, who overheard his obnoxiously loud crying, remembered feeling that useless and weak once before. At the arcade, Tae-hun was playing his taekwondo game again when Hoban showed up. He took the opposing seat and beat the sadist at his own game with a perfect score. At least a virtual win was something to be proud of. He had successfully pissed off the psycho fighter. Hoban came to hand over the channel on the condition that Tae-hun defeat him in a 1v1 a month from that day in a location that he would pick. After calling Tae-hun out for being too scared to let him prepare for a month, the sadist accepted the terms with an overly dramatic kick. After telling his friends, he went back home to begin another training montage. Chicken Master, who was now acting too zesty for someone with that much knowledge, revealed that there was no way a regular person could win against the likes of Tae-hun. After almost shitting himself in fear, Chicken Master revealed that there was hope. To start, Hoban was to polish his basic skills and pick a location to fight that limited Tae-hun's kicks. So he went back to brutalizing his trash bag and traumatizing kids at the public bath with his fresh-out-of-the-womb-sized carrot. He also determined that an alley close to his house was the perfect location, as there would be rainfall on the fight day to limit Tae-hun's kicks. After polishing his basics, Chicken Master revealed that he was still a loser bound to lose. The only way to increase his chances of success from 5 to 40% was to increase his core strength to master the tackle, a technique that could help him win. He used the public bath's water current and his extension cord to train. Snapper and Gayul came to his house to stream him as they still needed to keep making YouTube money. They found him in his closet training his core with the cord, looking like a middle-aged accountant trying to take the biggest dump of his life. After the core training was abs, as he needed strong abs to be able to withstand Tae-hun's kicks, which would still be powerful despite being limited. This training included trash bag sit-ups and ab stumping from Gayul. This increased his chances to 50%. Finally, the day of reckoning had come, and Hoban was waiting for the rain the weather lady had promised. Snapper came with their 100,000-plus family of viewers, who were eagerly waiting for the fight. He revealed that the weather lady got high before the announcements and gave the wrong weather forecast. Terrified, Hoban made a run for it and Snapper followed him. Meanwhile, Tae-hun was excited to finally start getting rich. Hoban had actually run all that way to catch Tae-hun in the restroom. How he knew the psycho fighter was there in the first place was very disturbing, but neglecting that, he sprayed hose water all over the floor, making it slippery for the fighter. Since the rain wasn't coming, he decided to make it rain himself. The fight was on, and he was ready to take on the psycho. He charged for the tackle but got his teeth fed to him as Taehun hit him with a lightning-fast punch. The foolish nutjob forgot that the fighter had hands and clearly knew how to use them. He resorted to the only thing he had left after taking a lot of vision-impairing punches, the calf kick. Hoban was able to stand on the slippery ground after buying water shoes. The calf kick took the fighter down. Hoban, who had a red palm tattoo on his face, was happy as he only needed to last 3 more minutes to get ads on his stream.